ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of the Switch It Up Show, and you're tuned into episode number 100. And I, of course, am going to be hosting this episode. My name is Glenn, and I am joined by my wonderful, supportive, kind, caring, humorous, thoughtful, and beautiful inside and out co-host, Mr. Seth Trav, at Seth Trav on Twitter, BT Dubs. How are you today, sir?
Oh my god, I am radiant, extravagant, feeling so supercilious from all the phenomenal, fantabulous things you just said about my person.
Aww.
Sir. Thank you. It has been 100 episodes. Amazingly enough, I remember years ago. At this point, years ago, when I said, hey, I got a Nintendo Switch too. And you said, you know what? Why don't we do a podcast? And I said, we already got something going. It's the Preach Network. You're on it. Thank you for stopping by. You got great shows on there, you said. Things like From the Crib, the Preachcast, and so much more to come. And what was to come? This show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping by.
That's it, right? That is correct, my man. We kind of just stumbled into success here, just like I stumbled over my words a second ago. But if it wasn't for you, the people, tuning in to listen to the show week in and week out, then we would definitely not be able to be so fortunate to cover all of these great games and highlight some of these indie titles. That way, hopefully, they don't kind of like get lost in the shuffle. But speaking of shuffle, I don't want to skip over these sweet, sweet tunes, so let's go ahead and let these beats ride for just one moment before we jump into our top 10 of the year. We never really get a chance to let the whole thing play out there, so I figured it's episode 100. Let's just go for it, and let it happen. So basically, let me give you guys the rundown on how this episode is going to work. Now, I already messed up. I already dropped the ball, and I said top 10, but that's not really how it is. And luckily, Mr. Trav and I were on the same page without even talking about it. We had like a heart-to-heart communication, non-verbal, just kind of felt it in the moment. And I said, Mr. Trav, how about instead of doing a traditional top 10, we kind of just do 10 of our favorite games throughout the year that we thought we wanted to talk about, that left an impression. And he said, my man, I am with you. What do they say in that Rick and Morty meme?
You son of a bitch.
Oh, man, that's it. That's exactly what happened. So basically, we're just going to go back and forth and talk about some of the games that we thought really deserved some attention, that really kind of just stood out to us, that we were fortunate enough to review. I know that each and every single game that I'm talking about, I have played and was reviewed on this show. So if any of them intrigue you, by all means, scroll on through our feed, find those episodes, and you might be thinking, Glenn, why wouldn't you just link to them in the show notes? Oh, no. I want you to go ahead into iTunes, into Spotify, into iHeartRadio, into Stitcher, into SoundCloud, into all those places, into the Google Play Store. I want you to go there, find whatever your chosen method of listening to the show is, and subscribe so you can get those episodes and the more to come, because we got a lot planned and a lot in the pipeline. I've been talking a long time. I'm passing over to Mr. Seth Trav so we can hit you with his first game that he wants to talk about today.
First game I want to talk about is Evil Defenders, ladies and gentlemen. As you may or may not know, I am a big fan of the tower defense games, and Evil Defenders is one that I found almost impossible to put down. At first, it was a fairly difficult game, and it became a much better game as time went on, sucking up tens and tens of hours of my life. Happily, too. It's hard to find that with tower defense games a lot. So go back, find the episode, see what I had to say. all about Evil Defenders. I definitely thought it was one of my hits of 2019.
Awesome, I do. Yeah, tower defense is a hard, kind of like a hard beast to tame. There haven't really been many of those that I've played that I've been like, I definitely need to play this more. Although I do.
No, you haven't. We got one coming up on the shows coming up soon. It's going to be called Anthill. And I was like, hey, man, you want to try out a little tower defense game? And you were like, nah, dog.
Hey,
that's not for me.
You know what? That I try to be honest. I know that if
and that's fine. Yeah. You got to get a weird hook for your tower defense game. Like you need a hard gimmick, I think.
I do love me. I do love me a Plants vs Zombies though. Like that's a fun one. And to me, like that one's simple. I don't really want too much going on in my tower defense game. And speaking of simple, my first game here, super easy premise, and that's going to be Candleman. Sounds a lot like Candyman, but nothing scary about this game except for the value that you get for the price of $14.99 on the Nintendo eShop. This game came out a little bit towards the end of the year in October, at least on the Switch. It's been around for a while on Steam, the Xbox Marketplace, and a bunch of other places. But basically, in Candleman, it's a platformer, and you are a lonely candle. And by just pressing a button on the Switch, you can kind of self-ignite for a few moments and explore this dark platforming level that has some moments of brightness to it. And basically, your job is to go through and light all of the other candles, illuminating the entire level without using all of your, fuel, so to speak, even though you're kind of just combusting as you press the button. This game was just super fun, very straightforward, amazing graphics. I just had a great time with it. And I love the fact that I can kind of just pick this up, play it, and then come back to it whenever I have a chance. So whether you want to play for 2 hours or you want to play for 20 minutes, Candleman is just hitting all the right notes for me. Really, really enjoyed it.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It seems like a beautiful game.
It's great, man.
If I recall, you gave it a beautiful score.
I do.
The only way to find out is to go back and listen to that episode where we review Candleman.
Almost spoiled it there.
A little bit. So, one of these games that I personally loved and described on Reddit is Truberbrook. It is not, in fact, stop motion. It only looks an awful lot like stop motion. What they did was they took real backdrops, real designed, articulated landscapes, and put a bunch of different angles of light on it, so that way it would be real. And then they photographed that and put it into a game where they did 3D models and movements and things like that. I was completely fooled. I thought it was all stop motion, and I thought it was great. I really, really enjoyed the story, but the music in it, worthy of a vinyl, and the just style, phenomenal style. If you got the time and you like a nice stop motion point and click adventure, check out Truberbrook.
Awesome, dude. Worthy of a vinyl. High praise.
Amazing soundtrack. I'm into that sort of jazzy hip hop. Jazz hop sort of deal, trip hop, if you will, chill hop, pop.
That's it. It's a lot of syllables you're throwing at me, my man.
No.
So I was next game completely different, and it's a first-person action-adventure game called City of Brass. This game came out a little while ago, and actually towards the beginning of the year, in February, and it's actually by the BioShock developers. And in City of Brass, what you're doing is you're going through, it's like an Arabian Nights themed, kind of like Aladdin type game, where it's a hack and slash, and you have to go through, defeat these different enemies, avoid traps, and collect treasure. And I just remember being super impressed with how good the graphics looked on the Nintendo Switch. I was really kind of just taken aback by the fact that this game looked so good and played so well. And I really like the idea of you going into different sections of the level, collecting different treasures, avoiding traps, trying to do your best to outwit these enemies who are coming after you, and learn the attacks of the different enemies and kind of what you need to do in order to counterbalance them. And I was just shocked that the game could look like this on the Switch. It's not like it's the best graphics of all time. It's just, at the time, it was some of the better graphics that I had seen on the console. And I was like, wow, this plays really well. I'm just happy that the Switch was doing something like this and doing such a good job at it. And that is City of Brass. It's $20 on the eShop.
Now I've got one that's pretty different from that. It is very much stylized in the old 8-bit, almost Atari look. It's Reventure. It is a spin on the classic platforming tropes, where you sort of the object is to keep redoing your adventure. Just about every single move you make can wind up leading to a interesting and funny death or imprisonment or impalement or some sort of impairment, and it is surprisingly funny and wildly addictive. I was so surprised by playing Reventure. Check it out if you can. Super cheap last I saw. I believe it was like $3.99.
I think there's a few sales still going on from the holidays still at this point, so you definitely want to do yourself a favor and go over into the eShop and check out and see if any of them are still like, you know, around. Your game kind of sounds like my game, Never Out, at least in terms of like the death. And Never Out is pretty much like if Cube, or mostly Cube, if the movie Cube was a video game, it would be Never Out. And basically what happens in Never Out is you're locked down into this room and you have to try to figure out how you're going to get out. Although as you traverse from one room to another, there's like deadly traps in each one that can kill you, whether it be like, you know, spikes shooting out of the wall, like electrocution. You can only go a certain direction. Maybe there's a gate that comes down and crushes you, or something falls from the sky, or the floor disappears. Like there's all these different little things that you have to kind of work around in order to escape and go on to the next room. So it's just a constant like repeating puzzle game. Really fun. It's great that you can only play a few levels and then go on and like stop. You don't have to worry. And it's super cheap. Right now it's only $7.49 on the eShop. So if you're looking for a puzzle game, something that's first person, and you know you're a big fan of the movie Cube, or you like the Saw movies, you should definitely check this out, because it's got all these kind of really cool traps. It's not super gory or anything. It's actually rated E, but like, you know, if you get electrocuted, you definitely know you're dying in this game. But they do it in like a fun and appropriate way. And that's Never Out on the Nintendo eShop.
Oh, beautiful. Fun and family-friendly Saw.
As much as it can be, my man.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty unique. Almost as unique as one of the most unique games I may have ever played. It's a blending of genres. It is called Creature in the Well. This game combines dungeon crawling with pinball. Or as I like to say, bumper pool, because of how it felt like it was actually working. But it's like an RPG mixed with pool and dungeon crawling, and it's really captivating visually. It reminds me a lot of Journey, and the gameplay itself, it's another one of those things that finds itself being super addictive, because there's so much to collect, so many things to just stumble upon and find. And then anytime you mess up in the game, it's one of those things where it's like, I definitely could have done that. I know I can go back and do that again. Let me take another shot. I gotta take another shot. I can get the angle. Let's try it. Eventually you get it. Which is a lot of fun and never really irritating. So the game was one of my surprise hits. I absolutely thought it was such a good time. And to blend such genres together like that, amazing. If you got the chance, check out Creature in the Well.
Awesome, my man. I know you're pumped about that one.
I was super pumped about that one. It just seemed so unique, because it just kind of like fell on our desk one day, and I was like, oh my god, what the hell is this?
I kind of felt the same way about Headliner. Headliner came out a little while ago, in September of last year, and it's kind of like a news simulation game. In Headliner, you're given the job at a newspaper of basically approving every single headline that goes into the paper for the next day. What's interesting is,
like J. Jonah Jameson.
That's it. What's interesting is, in it, what happens is you choose the headline. You're given a little bit of a direction, like from your boss and things like that, on like what they think you should do. And then after you choose your headline, your job is done and you go home. But on the way, of course, you do some of your errands, run into some of your friends and coworkers, and you talk to them, and you get to see kind of how your choices in the game play out, and how those people around you react to it, and how they're affected by absorbing what's in the news, and how it affects their like personality, how they deal with their relationships, and kind of like that trickle down, feeling of the news and I guess like the weight of it. So it's like this weird little, like, not quite visual novel, but more choose your own adventure and I guess like relationship simulator all in one. It's just really unique. I thought it was super cool, and I was really just intrigued by not only what was going to happen next, but going through and choosing all of the headlines. I just thought that was neat because you're presented with these little articles, you get to skim them real quick, and then you just choose it, and then you're off and running. So it's kind of neat because you can kind of tell that like which way your boss wants you to go in, and then you're like, all right, I'm going to follow it, or I'm just going to do the opposite. And then like as you talk to people, you kind of see how it affects them, and you're like, oh well, I want to take care of this person, and I kind of hate this person. And then when you're presented with the choices, like, or at least you start to learn how those characters are going to react to what you pick, and it kind of forces you to weigh one against the other to see like kind of what you think is best. But Headliner, Nava News, over on the eShop, of course, for $13.99. Actually, I feel like a little bit cheaper than it was when it first came out. A fun game if you're looking for something just completely different.
Oh, beautiful. So, speaking of something different, now we're going to get to the point in the show where we're going to talk about our surprise games of the year.
I actually have one more. I think maybe because you started first. So I'll go, because I chose 5. I think you probably did 5 already, but I'll go one more.
I did 4, and I made my 5th one the surprise one.
Well, all right then. That's what we'll do. Look at me, messing it up on the air. Fine. Go ahead. Continue with your greatness.
Okay. So the surprise game that I had of the year, the one that shocked me the most, came out of nowhere, had no idea, thought it was going to be absolute garbage. Pantsu Hunter back in the 90s.
Oh, man.
Now, I know that sounds awful, but listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. This game, it's a point-and-click adventure. We got a bunch of these point-and-clicks.
We do.
Where we got to do something. This one, it seemed like it was going to be kind of a detective thing, or I thought it was going to be like maybe a Japanese dating sim. But the idea of it just seemed super gross and super weird. But there's a ton of those like creepy, like weird hentai games out there. So I was like, let me see what's up. So I tried out Pantsu Hunter, and within like 10, 15 minutes, I was absolutely hooked on the game because it's so weird. And you have these basically 4 different rooms that you can go to, or 4 different women that you can try to like get the panties off of. And every time you go into the rooms, you can look at this like notebook journal thing, and you'll see like 12 different endings that you can get for the room and how it will end. You click on one thing, and it's like you'd sit down, but somehow you wind up dying, and it explains how you broke your neck just by sitting down. And then you go to somebody else's apartment, like a completely different woman, and you try to sit down again, and it's like, I thought you learned your lesson. And you find all these weird, stupid, like funny stories about this guy being a creep. And the character himself is a creepy, narcissistic weirdo, and is completely unaware of how weird and stupid and narcissistic he sounds. It's hysterical to me. And I was so shocked and surprised by it. If you feel like a weird, funny, oddly captivating game, check out Pantsu Hunter.
And you know what's interesting is like I'm going on the complete opposite of the spectrum. Like your game is like says one thing, seems to be like ridiculous and a little bit more lighthearted than you were expecting.
So lighthearted and just like catch stupid funny stuff.
And I'm just gonna go ahead and just like crush that completely. The game that I wanted to talk about was Drowning. And Drowning, Yeah, this game's rough, man. Johnny came out all the way back towards the beginning of the year, at the end of January, almost coming up on its 1-year anniversary, from our good friends over at Sometimes You, who always are kind enough to provide us with a copy of the game, and they're usually like a little more like fun and lighthearted. But Drowning is not about that at all. It's about this like young boy who starts right around in high school, and you have to play through his like years, and as he grows up and becomes a man. And
I remember when you got this one.
And it's like the simulation of like you kind of going through like life and like just experiencing like bad things happening to you and like struggling with depression. And what's weird is it's all presented through like the way of like you're going on a walk. And as when you have like a good day, you're walking through like this really nice like forest, you can hear like the animals and things like that, and as you continue walking, if something bad happens to you, like the weather gets a little darker, it gets harder to find where you're going, and you're trying to like navigate to try to like almost like you're getting yourself out of this depression by getting through this weather, getting through this darkness, getting over this like scary bridge that's like starting to collapse around you.
The allegories.
No, it's just so different, you know. Like I haven't played a game like that before, and I thought, I was like, man,
it's an
like
experience.
Yeah, it is, and it is an experience, and it's like a cool like little piece of like art. And yeah, like, you know, it's kind of obvious some of the stuff that they're trying to say, but there's a bunch of different endings that you can get, a bunch of different things that you can explore and discover in each level. It's just like, you know, as you're reading it, it's definitely like a heavier game. Things don't work out for you that great in this for the most part. It does kind of like, you know, end on like a more of a positive note, at least when I played it towards the end, but it's not until like after you've already been like drugged through the mud and you're reading this game and you're experiencing it and you're kind of engrossed in it because it's so unique and original. But yeah, it's definitely a heavier game. But the cool thing is you can do a whole playthrough of it in about 30 minutes.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, it's a quick one. So if you want to, like, you know, if you play it and you're like, man, that was brutal, I want to play it again. You can jump right into it. And it's kind of amazing. This game has a demo, which is neat that you can try it out. Any game that has a demo, like, thumbs up. I think that's great. And it's also $2.99 on the eShop.
That's an amazing
price. This game's dirt
right
cheap, and the graphics on this game look really good. Like, I mean, you have to be like a little bit more fan of kind of like the more. It kind of looks like Super Mario a little bit. Super Mario 64. It kind of has like those graphics, but better. And it's first person, which is cool. And you're just kind of like exploring. It's a walking simulator with like a heavy story behind it. So it's a good game, and I feel like it's something that gets you talking. Like, people talk about video games as art, and this is definitely more of a step in that direction. So if you're looking for something completely different, maybe something a little bit heavier than the average game that we play here on the Switch, it's definitely something to look into. And that's one thing I got to say about these games that we review here on the Switch It Up show. You know, there's so many indie titles that have come out on the Nintendo Switch that really doesn't matter kind of like what you're looking for, you know, that you want to play. There's something for everybody out there on Nintendo Switch. Like, the amount of games that come out each and every single week is so long, we actually got rid of the segment where we recap the games because there's like 30 games that come out every week.
It's true, ladies and gentlemen. There's so many great things out there on the Nintendo Switch, and 2020 looks like it's going to be another amazing year for great Nintendo Switch titles. Let us know what your 2020 looked like. Of course, you can get at me. I'm at Zetrav. He's at From the Crib. Together, we're the Switch It Up show. It's been 100 great episodes, my guy. Why don't you take us away?
Absolutely, my man. And like, you know, we're going to have some episodes coming up very, very soon. We already have a few games in the pipeline. And like I said, there are so many games to choose from. And the beautiful thing about the Nintendo Switch is if you don't like one game that you're playing, you can always switch it up.